Everybody made it. Hey, you guys. Welcome to XDay.
Hello.
Hello.
I am most excited to hear that you're using live polls in your church group. I was just like, oh my God, no, she did not.
Yeah, I pull them out. I take live polls with me everywhere I go. I'm not gonna lie. I probably have at least 15 because I have them pre-made in my account. So then once you make it, this is a hot take for everyone, you can keep using them in different circumstances.
Oh my God, that's such a great idea. We need to make them shareable or something.
The hardest part
Stop using them.
Yeah, the hardest part about building surveys is coming up with the questions. At least that's my opinion. But you know what? I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm not here to talk. You're here to talk because you are our true CX from a global perspective. And I am so grateful that you guys are here. Let's go around the room and everyone give me around the screen and give me, 5 seconds on who you are, what you do at Question Pro, and what region you're representing. Shabani, you're right here.
somewhere on the screen. Yeah.
We'll just go round robin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Shivani Phillip. I'm the director of the APAC region for Question Pro. I've just been in CX for quite a few years now, helping customers set up their CX programs, get better outcomes from their CX programs, and just better overall ROI and better programs. Right? So excited to be here on the panel today. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And next, Mr. Ken.
I am Ken Peterson, president of Question Pro CX, and I've been around CX for what started was supposed to be a 2-year career has turned into a quarter of a century now. And I enjoy every minute of it. I smile every day that I come to work. So.
Oh, so nice. And here we go, down below.
That should be me.
That is you.
Right, okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. Very excited. I'm Raul Rodriguez. I'm in charge of the CX division for Latin America. I've been with Question Pro. I started the area. The Question Pro invited me, which I'm so glad about it. About a year and a half ago to start the division in Latin America, and we've been doing great in our labor of evangelizing and telling people about CX. I've been in the CX and technology industry. I think I am gonna be Ken on that. Actually, next year I'm gonna be 30 years in the technology.
Giving Ken a run for his money.
I won't tell my age, but I started as a very young guy.
So you started when you were 5 years old.
I love that.
All right, so I think now that we're taking numbers, 14 odd years, I think, in the tech space, 5+ years in the CX space, and with Question Pro, it's been such a fabulous journey. I've been part of the product since what would have seemed or sounded like inception, all the way to bring it in. I'm right now the managing director of Question Pro, Middle East, Africa, Turkey, and Israel. And it's been an exciting journey to be enabling these solutions for clients and customers within our region.
Amazing. And last but not least.
Hi, thanks Crystal for inviting me. I'm Thomas. I'm the head of sales for the European region. Unfortunately, I'm just 8 years in the business, but yeah, I have so far 5 years with Question Pro, and I'm excited what the other regions will talk about CX today.
Amazing. Well, we've got a little slide deck too, so people can see. Oh, now we're going to move over. And then, Ken, you should be able to run it. Perfect.
Yep.
In case you didn't hear everyone, this is our wonderful panel of speakers today. Do not count me among the CX experts. I'm simply here to facilitate. I want to be very clear on that. But make sure that you guys reach out to our guest speakers on LinkedIn. They are always willing to chat and connect about CX. Shabani also hosts our Experience Matter live shows in the APAC region on Thursday nights, Friday morning.
Yep, Friday morning, India time, 12:30 SGT. please join in. We'd love to have you. We share insights every week.
And I know that because I get an alert like every time I'm going to bed on like LinkedIn that we've gone live. And so you guys make sure they all produce content within their own regions that is specific to not only their goals and their dreams, but also to customer experience in that region. So just please make sure to connect with them and we can get started. So the first question, we're going to be kind of theming these, is business transformation. In your region, how are leaders in customer experience approaching business transformation? And I'm going to start with the ladies first. Shabani, give me a hot take here.
Yeah. So, and we're going to be, obviously, because we're from multiple regions, we're going to be looking at region specific. So today, organizations are really pivoting, right, from retention, that was a goal during the pandemic, to growth, that is the priority now. So CX leaders are really redesigning the way they're structuring their programs, right? So in APAC, we're seeing that shift already when we're speaking to our clients. They've realized that you can't just provide this exceptional service on one or two of those touch points, right? It has to be great service across that customer's entire journey with the company. And this really needs to happen at scale. So two levers that we've seen that customers are using to enable this, right? Starting with the company's most valuable resource, the employees themselves. So we've seen companies in APAC, they introduce concepts like customer empathy as part of their core company value. And this is really crucial because it breaks down those individual silos, makes them, build that entire collaborative workspace so that everyone is really accountable and to delivering that great customer experience, right? And what really goes along with that, a complementary trend, is really empowering those operational teams to make those CX decisions, right? Because earlier, the way escalations, it just used to be the primary trigger for those CX improvements used to be those escalations. That really has changed from what we've seen. Each team is now making changes to the part of the journey that they are accountable for, and making sure that they are delivering the best customer experience, right? So no matter, it can be like somebody from the accounts department, it can be the executive at those different branches. What this has really enabled is those faster improvements in the customer experience, so much faster than if the CX team was working on its own and what they could deliver, right? So what is really happening is that every team is now really becoming a part of the CX team itself, which is fantastic to see, and it's really helping the business move forward.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of things that are happening in APAC are the customer experience team making their own decisions faster, which is helping the customer and the end goal, right? Because we all know getting stuck in the bureaucracy can never is sometimes not very useful. Sindhu, what about you? How is the Middle East and I gotta remember, Middle East, Turkey, Africa, Israel, how are they all approaching the customer experience for business transformation?
I'm going to piggyback off, some of the things that Shabani said, and, we very rightly said, companies are becoming customer obsessed. They want to focus on being customer centric, ensuring interoperability in their technologies, so that all of these multidisciplinary teams come together and operate as one entity who's taking care of customer from a holistic view, rather than from each individual teams or actions or the services or the products that they were providing. And the pandemic most definitely, I think, has been a huge accelerator in ensuring.
Sindhu. Oh no, well, on to the next. Sindhu will be back in a second, everyone. As we all know, sometimes doing live events can be troublesome, but brings the most authentic experience for you, which is why we always do it. So, Raul, why don't you tell me about what's going on for business transformation in Mexico and, South America?
Right. In Latin America, I would say that we are in a stage of maturity in companies, in somewhere in the middle of evangelization and culturization of the companies. I agree with Shivani and Sindhu that companies are becoming obsessed about customers, and they are starting to work. They started working on that, taking action. we've seen a lot of companies. Of course, this happens at all levels in the market pyramid. Of course, probably the largest companies in the region have already a customer experience officer or a dedicated area to customer experience. But most of the companies are in this stage where they are now understanding that customer experience is not an NPS survey in the middle of the year or at the beginning of the year. Right now, they are focusing their efforts on understanding the journey, understanding where does it make sense to ask the customer about pretty much anything, and of course to take action and to establish goals and areas related probably that would be probably in a stage after this, relating all of this data to financial data, so they can understand where is it really affecting to have to offer a better customer experience, and then how it relates to the financial data or the financial performance of the organization. So I would say that we are in the middle of that. Most of our work here is to start telling. That's why we always talk about strategy and more than tactics, probably strategy in terms of customer experience. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And how can we take you there? And I think that's pretty much where the most part of the companies in Latin America are right now. So it's very exciting. It's a very green field in a market with a huge potential for doing things for visionaries like Question Pro, in terms not only of solutions but also in terms of vision. That's how I see that we are right now, and we are gonna evolve in a very bright future that stays ahead of us.
I love that. That was a really great point about tying customer experience when you're really implementing it at the beginning to a financial and background, because everybody wants to know, like, how is this going to help the company make more money, and then customers always want to know, how is this going to help me make more money? And so that definitely is that circular kind of incentive that definitely can be a game changer. And I wanted to call you T2, but I was like, then I remembered that we were like live and I probably shouldn't do it. So Tom, what about you? How in Europe are you seeing customer experience, approach like tie with business transformations?
Yeah. So I guess a lot of things are going on in the European market, and I guess COVID pushed a lot of them, because clearly you saw that you have to focus more on customer experience because the business is changing, you need more insights. What I'm seeing on the business transformation side are actually several things. So one is that the people understand that you have to implement CX in a real way, because normally it was, hey, we are running a yearly customer satisfaction survey, then some of the organizations are still in this progress, then they're thinking of doing transactional-based surveys measured with NPS or CSAT or other key metrics along of the customer journey. But this already comes with, hey, technology integrated with a different CRM, CRP system, which is still a problem because IT resources are not available in many times. But also on the position side, right? So in Paris, we had market research and we had a customer experience department. Now what I'm seeing is that these two departments are getting actually merged to customer experience insight, because you cannot just say that customer experience is measuring the NPS or some other key KPIs. It's really the deep dive between the two departments. So this is what I'm seeing, that finally the organizations understand. But where I'm still seeing a big problem in Europe is that the board, so the highest person in the company, is not behind the CX program and not top down. So this is the thing which I see it happens, but it happens, it could be better, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to learn, and it's still going on.
That is even what Dana said on her, we had a couple people asking, like, how do you really start a voice of the customer program? How do you get these going? And it was get buy-in from the top, and that really can make or break, someone who really is trying to make difference. But if they don't have the buy-in or the right storytelling, even with internally, then sometimes it can fall a little flat. Okay, Ken, last but not least, you're our North American representative in Hawaii. So
I'm still in North America.
It's floating out there, probably closer to Shivani than the rest of us.
Well, I think what's been interesting in observing business transformation related to CX in North America, I think there was quite a bit of momentum heading into 2020. We started to see brands and companies using more insights, really reading from them. And then COVID hit and just altered the path of everything. I was speaking with Dom DeCastro from CSM Wire last night, and we were talking about how customer experience and the business transformations have almost gone backwards. They've stopped, even the little things that you're used to when you start talking about, for example, hotel daily housekeeping service. It's gone now. I mean, it's these little things, and they've rolled it back in the name of safety of the customers, but it's really rolling out there in the name. The reality is they're going, hey, we can save a lot of money this way. So they've sort of taken the split and said, hey, this is a chance for us to change the business, but they're not changing it with the customer in mind because they've had 2 years of bottom lines that have just been pounded by the pandemic. And so, it's sort of going to be a stretch now to get people back into that. And like Thomas said, you've got to get the top level buy-in. And I, one of those things that I always say is business transformation is more than just a measurement program. It's, it comes from the collective effort across the organization, within the organization. And, if you're waiting for your consultants, if you're waiting for your vendors to transform your business, you'll never transform. You've got to take that initiative internally. I mean, Question Pro is so happy to be a part of that, and we love to contribute to it. But we're not able to walk through the hallways and knock on the door of the CFO and say, hey, we need to get a little budget approval for this. So there are things that are going to have to take place internally, but we're gonna see a shift. I'd say in the next 6 to 12 months where all these customers are going to start saying, hey, I want some of these things back that you just took away from me.
Yeah, Raul, I saw you nodding your head about how the tools can't change your business. Do you have something to add there?
Absolutely, yeah. I think tools can change your business, but mindset is also what changes the business. So I agree with Tom and Kenny. It has to come from the top. That's when we talk about culture. So yeah, tools are just only a tool, a set for things to happen, but it has to come from a mindset that really wanting to change and really wanting to establish goals and areas, thinking about the customer and not about product, not about costs, just thinking about your customer and plan in terms of that, and then use the tools to exploit that and establish a plan and an action for that goals and that objectives to be performed and to be developed.
Right. Well, looks like Sindhu popped back into the background, so I'm going to add her. Welcome back, ma'am. So grateful that you're here. Just in time for the next question. Okay, so
Excellent.
how do insights, of course, how can insights actually influence decision-making in CX? So I guess this is something that we're always looking. Sindhu, you there?
Sorry, can you hear me? Is this happening again?
We're just getting ready to talk about how insights can actually influence decision-making in CX. And I'm going to go men first this time. So Raul, when we finally get, insights, do they make a difference?
Well, yeah, I would think so. Yeah. If you can't measure, then you can't improve. That's a very famous phrase, and I do believe about it. But you need to have the right insights. In the right place. So it does. We talked earlier about NPS. NPS just by itself is just a very powerful and a very valuable KPI, but it has to be linked with things like the root cause. Why are you giving me that score, and where does it gonna go? Are we gonna take action about it? Every indicator, every KPI should come with a decision, a prioritization, and an action plan to improve. Insights cannot be just a number in a leaderboard or in a dashboard. It has to mean something to anyone and to take action in terms of that insight, so you can improve. So I think that insight, and Ken just wrote his CX thoughts for today regarding that. You
Woo,
cannot
shout
really have
out!
one. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And now you can post the link to the.
There we go.
Yeah.
Raul, I like the page you're on there.
Yeah. So I totally agree. Yeah, insights cannot only be a part of a dashboard, cannot go alone. They have to be linked to something, and of course, there has to be some action related to that insight in order to be better. That applies, I think, to everything.
Yeah, Tom, what do you think? How do you make decisions from your CX?
Yeah. So it's actually the best part when you can capture the insights from a certain survey or from a particular touch point and push this back in the organization. I guess what is quite interesting that I'm seeing that more of the insights comes from the open-ended. So you ask about the experience, open-ended, use the sentiment AI to get the insights, because I guess we all know, so you can ask the scales, whatever it is, about a certain opinion, but people tell you more deeper in open-ended, where you can get a lot of insights, because asking them about the service, about the subscription model or something like this gives you a number, but if you talk about them, you can learn much more about them and really dig into this. And that's why we are using online focus group to get a better understanding. And what I'm seeing is when we talk to customer is, hey, what they're actually doing with the insights, right? From changing the entire support business inside, hey, we need to train our employee in a better way or focus more on employee experience, because what everyone forgot is we need first provide a great employee experience, because our employees are talking to our customers and this have a direct impact. So what I can tell you is the best thing on CX is really working on the problems, working on the gaps, using outer loop, inner loop, and keep tracking how this change over the time. Does the customer really see that you are doing something, or is it maybe not published enough, or do you have to talk to customer in another way? So this is a beauty thing on what we can do with insights. I guess what is important that you're using smart measurement, and this starts by a good conducted survey themselves, but also maybe doing the follow-up. So what I see by different projects, also by B2B one, is that even the vice president was offering, hey, if you're unhappy, let's talk. And this gives actually the customer away, hey, you are really important for me, that even someone want to talk. Because what the companies forgot is, hey, if a customer have a bad experience, you still can fix it. If you show them, hey, we are interested in, we want to fix this, we understand this, because also customer forgive you. And I guess closing the loop is a fantastic experience for customer and to measure this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shibani?
Yeah, no, I agree with everyone, right? One is
that's the easiest thing to do.
Right? No, but your decision making has to be based on your insights, right? You can't have decisions that are not driven by your data. But one thing that we encourage our customers in APAC is to really pull in all of that transactional information as well, along with, so that you can look at the survey responses along with all of that information. So, an example of a company, I worked with an e-commerce company here in APAC, and they were really prioritizing their delivery partner assignment based on the way their competition was doing and based on the market share of those delivery partners. This went on for a while, everything was fine. And then they launched their CX transactional study, and for the delivery touchpoint, the scores were really low, right? They looked at the data, and then they very quickly realized the delivery partner was getting the lion's share of the orders. They were actually scored really poorly by the customers, right? So it turns out the e-commerce company had most of their customers in locations where this particular delivery partner had a poor network. So they just made that change, which delivery partners handles what project, and their NPS score went up by 10 points the following month, right? 10 points.
Oh.
So, right. So unless you're able, if they weren't sharing all of that transactional information, you're not going to be able to slice and dice their data. They were not going to be able to arrive at those insights. They would have just, assumed, okay, my delivery touch point, that's the NPS, and see how we can improve that. So that's really a huge point on decision making. Unless you have all of that data, you're not going to be able to make the best decisions.
So you need the data in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, last but not least, I promise you won't be last every time.
That's all right. I'm going to echo what Rahul said, since he referenced what I wrote anyway, but and also what Shivani had just mentioned. I mean, there's a hierarchy in terms of what you're bringing to light with a CX program, for example. I mean, first there's data. I mean, data is that just, that raw stuff and information. Hey, our dashboards provide you with some information that you can then say, okay, we're moving in a direction. But then that top of the pyramid is the insights part, and it's always the most challenging. And Shivani mentioned it perfectly. I mean, I had someone once say to me, and that quote lives with me: insights are rarely found within one source of data. And insights means you should definitely incorporate survey data, but you should be incorporating transaction data, you should be incorporating cost data, you should be incorporating labor costs, you should be incorporating empathy for your workforce in those decisions. I used to sit back in a back room and just compute labor forecasts and sales forecasts and things like that, and you do it completely disconnected from the customer. And hey, it's easy. I can say, oh well, we need to have this many hours for this store, and it doesn't account for the fact that, hey, you have an employee that needs this part-time job to pay for their school. If you have all the product forecasts in the world, you forget about the fact that there's a mother that found out last minute that she's hosting the party for the soccer team that week and needs 50 things to purchase instead of just 5 that normally sit on the shelf. So it's starting to look at those customer needs, not included within the transaction, included within the survey. So being able to build it out like that, that's really where you're going to get the rich insights from.
Yeah. So thank you so much. You guys were 2 questions in. We even got a comment I'm going to throw up in the screen to begin with. But if you're just joining us across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or LinkedIn, we thank you so much for coming to Spring XDay CX Tuesday. And if anybody saw a little wink, wink, nod, nod to Ken's Tuesday CX thoughts, this was not an accident that we are on Tuesday. And so we are so grateful that you are here joining us. And just to remind everyone, this is our global panel of CX practitioners and influencers and leaders. And we have everyone from the APAC region, North America, Europe, LATAM, and we had the Middle East, but we lost her there for a second. We'll see if she's coming back. And we are just so grateful that you are here joining us for this really, inclusive panel about CX around the world. And Jesus has a question. So this is outside of our pre-programmed, but how do you know your CX program is actually having a positive impact on your customer? Who wants to take it? Raise a hand. Ken. Oh, Ken got to it first. Here we go, Ken. How do you know your CX program is actually having a positive impact on your customer?
I'll contradict myself in mere moments, but first of all, you'll see those numbers move organically. They, you know, we measure um, we measure with the idea that you can take that and transform that information. You know, sometimes you do get the gamification of the CX program, but if we say that gamification, if we can say that gamification is not there, you'll actually see those numbers move. But the other thing that will happen, I mean, your sales will go up. They will. You know, I promise you. You'll see profitability go up. You'll see customers repeating over and over again. You'll see, you know, instead of 4 transactions a month from a customer, you're going to see 5 transactions a month. So, you know, that loyalty will increase. Does it happen overnight? No. Is it going to be something where you're going to go, wow, today we were at, you know, 1 million in sales, and next week we're going to be at 1.5 million in sales? No, it doesn't happen like that. It takes time to sort of lead that in and, you know, let them acclimate to the fact that they're loyal to you. Loyalty doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with one coupon. It doesn't happen with, you know, one big promotion. It happens with a consistent delivery, and you see it pay off in all sorts of ways. And by the way, you'll also see it pay off with your employees. When you have customers that are more loyal, your employees become friends with the customers, shall I say, for lack of a better word, and they'll treat the customers better because they see them over and over again. I've seen it operate, you know, B2B. I've seen it in retail. I've seen it even in, you know, big airlines, things like that. So
interesting. Anybody have an alternative take? Is there a time where you don't actually see impact? I'm assuming it's when they do it wrong, but I'm just asking.
See a negative impact then.
They will let you know, actually. Yeah, trust me, they will let you know.
Oh, well, Jesus, thanks so much for the question. And if you are listening, make sure that you also enter to win our experience giveaway. We are giving away a masterclass in Obey Fitness or an Airbnb experience gift card. Airbnb, now, this is not sponsored by any of these. I mean, I'd be glad to be sponsored, but it's not. We just want to, you know, reward something, just like Dana was talking about, surprising and delighting, giving something that we don't, you know, we don't require anything back from you except that you fill out the survey, because I wouldn't know how else to contact you. So make sure that you go ahead and scan that QR code and enter to win. We will announce at least one winner at the end of the day. And then, but don't worry if you're not online, we will also be sending out winners through email. And Ken, you're controlling this experience right now with the slide deck. On to the next. Here we go. Experience versus customer. Locally, do you weigh too much on experience and not enough on customer? I'm going to start with Raul.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very good question. Where do you know when are you measuring experience versus customer? I'm not sure. I think that it started as I mentioned. Companies are starting to learn or starting to think that Tom mentioned earlier, that as a customer satisfaction survey every year or every 6 months is not the best way to learn that if you're especially giving a special attention or a very good experience or really satisfying or delighting your customers. So I think you should measure, or you should think that every part of the journey is a very a good opportunity to measure something. So then you can have a whole picture. We talked about insights. Yeah. So have the transactional data, the data, the rough data, and ask them. And another thing that I wanted to add about, on the previous question is that customers love to talk. Dana mentioned it on her chat earlier this morning. Customers love to talk. Customers love to tell you about what they're going on about, even if it's bad. They will tell it. They will say it louder. But when they are happy, they are also very happy to share their thoughts and tell you what they are feeling. So I think there has to be a balance where you measure how is it going with your customer in every part of the journey, or in most parts of the journey, and then act in consequence. That's what insights give you. Then they're telling you what, they're giving you a score, and they are telling you the reasons of that score. And then there's I think where you can balance between experience and customer.
Oh, so really listening is like kind of what Dana was saying earlier, is if you don't just operate too much, also listen. Tom, you want to expand kind of on your thoughts around this? Maybe even a perspective from Europe?
So I guess I'm interested if there's any experience in a different region, because I truly believe that this is always the same. Like Peter Drucker was saying, you need to listen to your customer and they will have a great experience. And this is really what I'm telling to our customers. You need to listen to them, and this could be a transactional base, but we have also a lot of customers who are doing, the expert community, the fan community, where they really have hardcore fans, but also loyalty customer in it. And they will tell you, I'm talking on a regular basis with customers. They gave me great insights, and we have a fantastic management team who are really interested in listening to the customer. And this experience is something what makes them the customer experience unique, and which I can highly focus. It's definitely an extra mile. It's not easy. But if you're doing this, you will be the winner in your market.
I guess my follow-up, Tom, is I have a little follow-up is, do you have a lot of B2B customers who don't listen to their customers? Because it seems like what y'all are saying is like your customers need to listen to their customers.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, well, anyways, that seems backwards from a CX program. Okay, Shivani, what do you have to say on this?
Yeah, are you sure you don't want to get Ken to go last again?
Oh no! I'm sorry, Ken. I really enjoy you as a human. I'm sorry. No, Shivani, let's roll.
All right. So we do see that happen sometimes in APAC, right? Where you're going at face value of what one is, you're going at face value of what the customer says, not really what is being implied, and two, you're just going with what the industry is doing, what your competition is doing. If it works for so and so company, it has to work for us, right? Not always the case. Sometimes customers lose out on that. We worked with this casino in APAC, right, and a while back, and what they were doing and planning on doing is increasing the variety of games that were available. A competition was doing it, and it had frequently come up as a complaint from the customer satisfaction surveys as well that they were running. So it's a massive investment, right? So, but before pulling the trigger, they deep dived a little bit into the data, and what they found is such a high correlation between the people who wanted more games to be available and those who rated ease of finding the games poorly. Right. So it just turned out that they didn't really need more games. All they needed to do was to improve the signage. Such a huge difference in the investment for the company. That's literally all that they did. They just improved the signage, they improved the layout, and that helped their scores, right? Not up by 10 points on NPS, but it definitely saw a huge impact on the scores, and they did. So if they had just gone with directly what the customers were saying, not going that one level further just to understand why are they saying this, what are they saying? It can be from other questions that you have in your survey. It can be from, like Tito mentioned, the importance of the open-ended, Thomas mentioned the importance of the open-ended data that comes in and delving that, just to understand what are the reasons before jumping into, okay, we need to find the budget, we need to make these improvements. So that's the thing. We always ask the customers, identify those improvement areas, but also check and see whether those are the root causes, and then work on them.
Ken, you had a little like, yes, they're in the middle.
Yeah, I think the thing I was thinking of as she was talking is like, if you don't focus enough on the customer, guess what? You won't have any customers. I find ourselves very fortunate in that we're talking to customers about their customers, but the interesting thing is we also have to cater to our customers. And so if you don't, I mean, we're in a B2B situation where if you don't cater to the customers, they will walk. And so the experience, we could, I'm going to tout live polls here for a second. I mean, live polls is part of our experience. It's a fun little piece that makes the experience go. If it didn't resonate with customers, if we're saying, oh well, live polls is all you're getting, then well, hey, we're missing out on a big gap. So you see a lot of the brands that do that, and it's not just in B2B. Southwest Airlines, for example. They have a unique way of boarding their planes. Let's just put it that way. Having grown up boarding planes in one way, seeing that way, I'm like, wow, that's very different. But I remember a few years back, they were going to try and change it a little bit, change it up a little bit. And they thought it was going to improve the experience. They thought it was going to make things more efficient. And the reality is they weren't focusing on the customer at the time. And so there was a little bit of rebellion, shall I say, by the customers.
Was that when they were going to try and board from the back too?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And so that experiment quickly went away. I don't think you can even find information on it anymore anywhere, because it quickly went away. They were like, nope, this was a bad idea. I mean, you can go back. Well, I'm way aging myself when they introduced New Coke. And they weren't thinking about the customer. They were thinking about their competition, like Shivani said. And, it caused customers to defect. Well, might have also been the greatest marketing ploy ever, because then they brought back Coca-Cola Classic and everyone started buying it and like, don't ever take it away again. But, sometimes companies lose sight of the fact that these things are for customers. And if you're not doing the research, if you're not getting the insights, I mean, whether it's the customer experience, whether it's through the market research, which you should always talk to Dan Fleetwood if you're going to roll out a new product and make sure that you're testing it well. But if you're not doing those things, you're going to lose sight of the customer. If you're not talking to them, it doesn't matter if you have a great measurement program that says, how are we doing? If you're not actually talking to them and saying, hey, we're going to make this change, how does this influence your experience? You're going to lose those customers eventually.
Yeah, and that actually leads us into a great comment we just got. What do you do when your CX program insights are telling you something contrary to what the competition is doing? How do you action on such insights? So, Shivani, you kind of started with the competition here. You want to take a crack at this?
Yeah, I mean, when something is going completely different from, let's say competition here, or even what the business was expecting, what you can do is see if you can roll it out on a small scale, right? See what the impact is. Do an A/B test. See what the impact is. CX tech product, our CX platform allows you to do things like that. You can, make those improvements in only those locations. See what the improvements are. Making sure that the investment is worth it, that the decision is right. Your customers are agreeing with this change, and then roll it out on a larger scale. So that is something that you can do just in case you're not sure that is the best option. Sometimes your customers are going to be telling you things and then they don't really mean it. So it's always best to test it out first.
Tom, thoughts?
No, I totally agree on this. And it's not always the competition, because everyone is focusing what the competitor does. I guess everyone also have their unique customer group where they should focus on, because what I'm seeing is, people doing CX because their competitor is doing this. Because of, they want this, or they say, hey, we also want to have now embedded survey or the NPS in the email template. I guess what is important to listen to the customer, and you can get inspired from the competitor. It's always good to know what they're doing, but focus on your business is my advice.
Ooh, I like that. And that leads us into another question that came in. I'll let Raul take a crack at. What challenges of running a CX program when they're led by insights? Smiley face.
Well, it's very interesting questions, because I think insights are, or a CX program or a CX strategy, it's a living thing. It's a living animal. So leading by insights. Probably today, probably your customers are telling you some things contrary at what your competition is doing, and maybe, but that probably will change tomorrow. Probably it's something that's why I totally agree with Shiban in terms of go deeper, dig. Why are they telling you that? It's just a market situation. Your competition is doing something different, or you did something different, like Ken mentioned with on the Coca-Cola case. So it's always a living thing. So I guess you have to trust on the insights, but you have to trust on the rough data as well. There has to be a balance between the two areas, the numbers, and related it with the insights, with what their customers are really telling you, because that's where the reasons are for what they're telling you, or what they're giving you scores and on no matter what. So I think you have to do both, and be aware that insights and it's a living thing, that they're going to tell you different things depending on even their personal situation at that moment.
For sure. Okay, Ken, on to the next. Man, you guys have so many good nuggets. I was already thinking about like how we're gonna like turn this into a blog post, how I can like make video content from all of your guys' little insights today. So we're gonna change things up. Ken, you gonna go first. What are some CX trends you've seen that are influencing business across the world?
I've seen a lot of trends come and go, some good, some bad. I mean, I think some of the latest ones, we keep hearing the AI is going to change CX, and oftentimes, yeah, it's going to change CX. But I mean, we see this over and over again. I mentioned earlier the fact that some brands are starting to sort of ignore their customers in favor of the bottom line right now, and there's a business reality to that, and we all get that. But sometimes that comes back and bites people. So then they say, oh, well, we're going to put AI chatbots on our call center. We're going to make it difficult for you to get in touch with a phone center rep and things like that. So these trends will come and go, and they'll go up and down, and we see it all the time. I think probably the thing that stands out to me in a big way, and our good friend Jonathan over there at Anthrolytics talks about it a lot. It's called digital empathy at scale. And it's really being able to find that point. So many of your customers now really like self-service. I mean, maybe we've trained them to like self-service, but there is a certain amount of embracing it that customers can go in and whether it's tracking a package or shopping at the grocery store, you can go in and sort of just I'm not in the mood to talk to anyone today, so I don't need to talk to anyone, and that's great. But really identifying that point when you need to intervene. If someone's scanning their own groceries at the store and then stops for 2 minutes, that might be a flag that says, hey, someone needs to go pay attention to this person, even if they don't call for help. Right. The idea that someone's looking at two options online to purchase something, and they have them both in their cart, and you clearly wouldn't need both of them. But to be able to say, okay, well, I can just interfere with a chat and be able to say, a real human saying, hey, it looks like you're having a problem deciding between these two options. So maybe we can just get on chat or even get on the phone and talk about it. So really, that's the biggest trend that we're going to need to embrace moving forward for CX, is really recognizing almost, I'll say psychically, when that customer needs that empathy, when they need that intervention.
Tom, are you a psychic? Do you think you can tell us the future of CX trends?
But I really agree on what Ken is saying, because AI is pushing into the market, and I guess it's quite interesting. I'm following the trend of AI, and I guess it really can help us. But what I'm seeing is that finally people understand that AI cannot solve our problems. Ken mentioned example with a chat a really good way. And we all know, hey, you have a problem, you are frustrated, and then you are talking with an AI chat and not a human being. And I guess this is all what we want. But I'm also seeing this in the market research and in a customer experience that everyone want to automate everything. Try to replace a human being and all of this. And I'm interested how this is going and how this will develop in the next years. But I truly think that there will definitely be more advanced insights and analytics going on with churn prediction and other prediction models, which we are seeing where our consulting team is developing interesting models. What the people doesn't understand that there's no out of the box model which you can use, because this totally depends on how you run your CX program. But there I see that really the insights, the technology helps to get better data.
Shibani, do you have some, do you think people try to apply out of the box technologies to their CX programs too often, like AI, or, just like, oh, well, this worked for someone else?
But we're getting there, right? So CX in APAC is probably not as evolved as it is in the US, for example, right? But we are constantly improving. The industry is growing. The importance of CX is growing. So there are a couple of trends that we're seeing, right? Just one is the importance of collecting that feedback across the journey, right? All of our customers are increasing the number of touch points and moving away from, which is pretty important, moving away from your email and SMS and your traditional, your feedback channels to non-intrusive, innovative ways of collecting the feedback. And this could be AI, it could be simple things like a website pop-ups, it could even be QR codes, right? A lot of our customers are asking for QR codes now. So that is one. The second thing we're seeing is the importance of linking your employee experience to customer experience, right? So the customers are now becoming cognizant of how these engaged employees actually have a positive impact on your customer experience, right? It was something that was always known, but it's something that they're taking into account now. So they're a large number of clients, especially in the services heavy industry, like your airlines or your hospitality, they're tracking that employee engagement and linking it back to customer experience, right? So they can identify those areas to work on that actually have a direct impact on customer experience. So that link between employee and customer, that's sort of becoming more prevalent. A lot of discussions happening around that.
And we'll take a moment right here to shout out to Workforce, our employee experience platform led by the wonderful Sonia Lucina. And tomorrow you can join us for Workforce Wednesday all day, where we will be talking about employee experience. I don't know if they give you all the same amount of shout outs though. And Raul, what kind of trends are you seeing as the CX kind of, takes more popularity across businesses?
Yeah, well, I see that I agree with all of my colleagues on in terms of that the use and abuse of technology in terms of having access, or our customers having access to our company. I think that and I had a conversation a few months ago with another colleague in a webinar, and it says that all of this that happened during the pandemic, talking about empathy and the interest for our customers, and to be let them know that we are on your side and all of that. Don't go back to what you did before that. Don't go back to not listening to not being close to them, and that's something that is happening. So technology is also increasing the levels of personalization with some things, but we are losing it in some other ways. We have a customer that listening to their customers. It's a bank in South America, and most of their customers are elder citizens. So they understand that the importance of the phone or of the telephone, that they want to speak to a human. They don't, they're not familiar with chatbots. They're not familiar with SMS or WhatsApp or stuff like that. They want to speak with somebody. So they have this contact center with a very engaged employees talking to this kind of citizens, to this kind of people, and their NPS is a very high number, and they're an example in their community, at least in the financial industry. So I think things like that is that we need to see technology enables you to do things, to establish action plans, but you need to think about the customers, what they really want. So I think that companies are going on that trend, and a very interesting trend that we are looking in Latin America is that the CX, the customer experience areas, are becoming independent from the organization. I mean, usually they report to marketing, they report to operations, and now they have they're opening a CX division that reports directly to the CEO or the managing director. So I think that's an interesting trend in terms of independence to do their own action plans and establish their own goals and metrics, and be like a different entity from the organization that has the power to tell what they are really looking at in terms of what their customers are saying. So I think that's an interesting trend that we are seeing more often in Latin America.
That's awesome. And we were talking about that kind of globally, all the CX departments really finally having initiative to just make decisions instead of having to roll it up through marketing, through this, through that, and really being able to say, you know, what the CX programs are doing. If we can move faster to help our customers, that will make a difference in their experience, in our bottom line, and with our employees. So that's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. And now I think we have on to our last but not least question that we're ending kind of on a dramatic note. When programs fail, what happens? Where have you seen that customer experience programs fail? And do they, I guess, you know, another way to kind of frame this is, do they fail the customers? And what happens when you kind of have to, you know, resurrect something, or just, I guess, like call it a day? Shibani?
Yeah, unfortunately, CX programs do fail, and they do fail their customers, right? So the most frequent failure that we see is failing to upgrade your processes to match your tech, right? So we have customers who set up this entire loop closure feedback system, and they let their customers know, the ones who have complained, right? They let them know, I will get in touch with you in 24 hours with a resolution, but then they don't, right? So it's easy to implement a tech solution, but processes have to evolve in tandem with that tech. Because your customer's already angry, right? They've taken that time to tell you what is wrong, and then no action is taken. So an already really unhappy customer could become a very vocal unhappy customer, which is going to really be bad for your business. The second thing where we've seen it fail is that, you know, companies build out these complex nested surveys and measure every possible metric, and you know, but they don't act upon this rich data that comes in, right? They have these elaborate phase 1 and phase 2, and they deploy all of these touch points, and then that's it. Right? Once the data comes in, no one is responsible for acting on it. There aren't any, you're not tracking improvements, and you're not really linking them to business metrics, right? So really not leveraging the immense benefits that is buried in your data itself. So, which is really unfortunate.
It's kind of what Raul was talking about, like if with the bank, if they were trying to send out SMS messengers to the, you know, the elderly generation, then that program would ultimately fail. But because people are using the phone, which, Lord help us, the phone's coming back, like, then, you know, that really can help that grow. Tom, failed programs, thoughts?
Yeah. So I guess, like I mentioned on the early beginning, I saw customer experience programs fail when they really just was thinking of how to measure this, but totally forgot about closing the loop. But also if they do not get the support from the management, because then they cannot push this into the organization, because if you run customer experience or voice of the program, then if you want to listen to your customer, you need to change something, right? So if you identify the problem, you need to change something. And if the organization is not willing to change, so then you can have the best program or best prediction or what else, but you will fail. And the other thing is, if you're really thinking in different silos and don't have the departments connected, have a clear leadership, so then your CX program will fail.
Ooh, okay. Ken, failure, is it an option?
Some might say failure is toward success, but not in the case of CX, I'll say. So I think they've all made great points. The one that stands out to me, and they've sort of talked about it a little bit, CX programs fail when you focus on the number. If your whole goal is just to improve an NPS score, that is the focus, and you're not focusing on the customer. You're not trying to improve the experience. That's how you get those, if you don't give me a 10, they're going to fire me. I'm going to lose my job. My wife's going to divorce me. I will never see my kids again, and I'll be living in a van down by the river. You know that old line, and so too often, that becomes a focus. And the second part, and it's sort of tangential to it, is sometimes the focus just becomes on launching that program. Like, it's such an undertaking to build out a CX program for an organization that sometimes they forget that, it was already mentioned, but they forget that you have to take action. Once you get the program up and running, that's not the destination. That's the beginning of the journey. That's where you start. And I think the third thing, we've talked about it over and over again, it's you need to generate insights towards action. And you can't do it in isolation. You can't do it in a silo. You can't, no matter what you're collecting on your survey. I'll say NPS Plus is terrific. It's a great tool. It allows you to get that root cause. It allows you to get some churn risk in which you can, get some of those insights. But until you can tie that now back to the customer, I mean, are you going to respond to every customer that costs you money? Or are you going to want to respond to customers that are profitable for you? You can't do that without linking the insights with your internal data, bringing something to light that you can make real decisions based on that. And so, those are the three big things that I say. I always see them fail.
And last but not least, Raul, what are your thoughts?
I think I agree with everything that all of you guys just said, and I would add just a very famous movie line that comes when talking about these programs to the senior leadership is "Show me the money." And I think Ken just mentioned it earlier today, that trust me, if you do things right on a CX strategy, your sales will go up. You'll have better customers. You'll have customers recommending your products, and that's where the money is. That those programs pay for itself when they have an adequate and a positive return on investment. So in order for that, you need to listen to your customers, get the data, get the information, get the insights, and prioritize and take some action, change some processes, change products, change whatever you need to do in order to make your organization more customer centric, and that will show off in terms of better results, in terms of financial results. And I think that's where you can show your CEO, your CFO, that this works. Here's the money. Here's where the financial positive results are.
I love that. Well, that was our last question. And so I know we've run a little over, but you guys just are such a plethora of knowledge, and I love it. So if y'all can give me one final takeaway, what's your ultimate CX recommendation for practitioners out there? If they can only do one thing, what do they do?
Start. Just start. Just start your CX program. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start this. We're gonna do this just like we did at the beginning for an intro. Shibani, give me your 5-second takeaway.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what I said. Right? Just start your CX program. You don't have to build out this, this entire end-to-end from the get-go. Start somewhere, show, improvements. You're going to get management buy-in with that, and you can grow your program from there. But if you don't start, you're not gonna be growing the program at all.
Amazing. Ken, 5 seconds.
Focus on insights. Insights are what's going to lead to action.
Love that. Tom?
I just tell call Question Pro, and they will lead you.
Always, man, Tom. I don't know how you do it. You're just like, let's. I love it. Call Question Pro. Call Tom specifically.
Right.
And Raul, what about you? 5 seconds. Best CX advice.
Yeah, I would say start listening to your customers and start with the little things. Don't eat the whole cake. You're gonna get sick. So start with little things. Have those first little hits and show them that this works and keep moving on.
Awesome. Well, sorry. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys, and for bringing us a CX global perspective. If you're joining us across LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, make sure to follow all of these guys. I know that they're pretty active on socials. They would love to chat with you, as Tom said, especially if you need help with your CX program, your insights, or even how your employee experience program can influence your customer experience. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'll see you later.
you.
Bye.